Napoleon's Last Battles. This is the original SPI version of the Kevin Zucker Napoleon's Last Battles system. I use the term system, I guess you could throw some air quotes around that, as it's not really a consistent, it's not the same system it is that used to be. I think that more complexity has been added to it over the years as he's released more games in the system. The and I can't imagine it would be the same, given the fact that I was fairly surprised at how simplistic a system this is. Just starting out, it was, I wasn't expecting anything terribly complex, but I think I was unprepared for just how basic the system actually is. It is a quad game, so basically it's like it's a boxed version of 4 of their folio games, basically. And so the theme, obviously, in this one is the Waterloo campaign. These would be the last 4 battles, major engagements anyway, that Napoleon fought. And I started out, just to test out the system, started out with, I don't know if this would be the easiest one or not, but it's a battle that I've never actually played before. I've never done a simulation of Quatre Bras before, so I thought I would give it a try. In this particular game, I didn't use, you can see down here, this is one of the things some of these older SPI games do, is put the starting units on the map. You can see here these are optional setup French units. I didn't use the optional units as it indicated in the notes for the scenario. That kind of weights it a little too heavily in the French favor. You can see there are some French units that can come onto the board. There's reinforcements and these additional starting units. They recommend, if you want to do an actual simulation of the battle, to not add these additional French units. So all you end up with are British reinforcements, or Anglo-Allied, I should say, that show up. As you can see there, I've played through the scenario. I made it that far. 1 turn to go in the folio version. The rest of this turn track and reinforcements here are if you're playing the campaign game, which I'm not. I'm just doing the simple folio simulation. There's the casualties there. You can see the French lost. I moved pretty aggressively with them on Quatre Bras, which is actually, I believe, right here. Yep. And the French actually took it and held it for 2 turns, so I think that was worth 2 victory points for them. But as you can see by the line of units by the side of the board, they lost too many strength points. Their army demoralizes at 25. So, and I think 1 victory point. The player occupies Quatre Bras at the end of the game, receives an additional 5 victory points. I don't have really any chance in the last turn of reclaiming Quatre Bras, so it's going to be an Anglo-Allied victory there. Demoralized the French army. Wasn't close to being demoralized on the Anglo-Allied side. So, pretty easy win actually for the Allies, although the French do, obviously, if they move quickly, have a chance to kind of establish themselves and possibly hit the British with a crippling blow. But I managed to get all the British reinforcements onto the map and mobilized. One of the surprising things about the simplicity of the series for me is the fact that that there's no differences in movement values for the different types of units depending on the type of terrain. At least there's not significant ones. I believe that forests cost a little extra. Forest and marshes cost more for cavalry and horses and horse artillery. But they're the same for infantry and artillery. So the fact that artillery can move essentially as quickly as infantry makes this an interesting, fairly easy to run system in terms of just moving your units. So it was really, sequence of play is simply move and fight, switch to the other side, move and fight, end of turn. There are all of 2 charts for the game. You got your classic odds-based CRT right there on the map. No charts or tables or anything. No separate cards for those, just right there on the map. Your other table is your terrain effects chart, which is in the back of the manual. And the rules are 6 pages. And almost not even 6 pages, because most of these rules on page 6 are optional rules, which I did use. I used the combined arms attack capability. So, again, very simple. This is a classic early, I think this came out in the mid-70s. I want to say 76. Yep, 1976. So mid-70s. Design with your simple combat value, movement value, got the NATO symbols, and then sticky Zocks. So, very simple. I mean, that's basically it. And you've got advance after combat. If you can't retreat either on the terrain or if you have to retreat into enemy Zoc, you're eliminated. You can retreat through friendly units by displacing them. Line of sight's pretty simple. Ridges block line of sight. Forest block line of sight. Towns block line of sight. There's no elevation issues in the game. Movement is pretty simple. You can do combined attacks. You can do bombardment with artillery. That's about it. Again, it really does not get much simpler than this. Stacking is limited to 2 units per hex. And there you have it. What is kind of fun about these games, I don't know how great it is as a simulation of how 2 Napoleonic armies would actually hit each other in combat. You have 2 lines engaging each other. I do like the sticky Zocks for this era of combat because disengaging was not particularly easy unless you were retreating. So, the fact that you can't just pop out a line and try and get around your enemy's flank feels pretty appropriate to me. You can't see it here because the lines are fairly consolidated, but there was a lot of flanking activity around over here. When the French initially attacked the handful of British units that were at Quatre Bras at the time, they came around here, and got around on the flank. And that's basically how the British ended up counterattacking, was to come back around that flank and drive in the French flank. Same thing over here. I brought the French cavalry up through these woods to get onto the flank. But they weren't able to do enough damage quickly enough before the British reinforcements came in and pretty much destroyed the French cavalry on the left. So I ended up losing 3 cavalry units, one of which was a fairly large 5-point unit. So it didn't work very well for the French. Trying to get on the flank didn't roll particularly well for them. But if you don't act quickly enough and then build up enough of a defense, either take Quatre Bras and build up enough of a defense around it, or just actually work it so that you can eliminate some British units, you end up pretty well screwed with the French. So you got to move quickly, and you got to get some rolls that can force some eliminations. The best way to force eliminations, the CRT does not eliminate units unless you get major odds, 5-1, 6-1 odds. That's actually kind of hard to do in this particular scenario with the forces as well balanced as they are, so you end up getting eliminations by a maneuver. by trying to get Zocs around units. So for the French, that was kind of difficult because they kind of were on an interior line. They tried to get around on the British, but once the British got most of the reinforcements on the board, that made their line longer. And when you're on an interior line, it's much easier to, and especially if your enemy can get around on your flanks, it's obviously much easier to create some elimination scenarios where they can't retreat because they're blocked off by enemy Zocs. So that's what the British were able to do here, and end up winning for Quatre Bras. So interesting system. I've got some more Zucker games that I've ordered. I've got, in addition to this one, I've got La Patrie en Danger, which is, and this is part 1. But I got this one. This is the 1814, Allied invasion of France here. So that's got 5 battles. So that's what, Library of Napoleonic Battles, Volume 4. And I've got another one of these coming. I think it's The Coming Storm, which has Friedland and Eylau, and a couple other battles from that campaign. And may get some more of these. But I wanted to start with the original, most basic one. And it is indeed very basic. I know for a fact that the newer ones are not quite so basic as these. I also recently grabbed a copy of Napoleon at Bay after watching Callendale's video on it. Although this is not the Avalon Hill version from 1978, this is the 97 OSG version. So at least won't have to worry about messing with warped boards. Also got a copy over there of 1809, which is from the same system, I believe, as Napoleon at Bay, which are these operational level, campaign level games. And these are a little bit different than the Library of Napoleonic Battles series, I think. I think the Library of Napoleonic Battles are tactical versions, or tactical simulations of individual battles, whereas these you could probably look at more as something like the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War series, where you're doing an operational level campaign view of something. So that's what 1809 is too. That's a later version. Napoleon at Bay was the first version. 1809 came out in 84, maybe 86, something like that. One of the old Victory Games titles from the 80s. So anyway, just a quick look at Quatre Bras from Napoleon's last battles. I may just move on to the newer versions in La Patrie en Danger, as opposed to doing Ligny and Wavre and Waterloo from this folio series. But we'll see. I'll take a look and decide which one I want to do next.